All right. What's up, everybody? We are back with Bet on It with Jerry and Jordan. I am Jerry, and you are Jordan.
I
Uh,
don't know that because my name's not below my picture, but that's what I'm being told.
you can follow us on Twitter at Jerry Wilkie FM or at Dr. Fantasy Sports, and you are allowed to follow us both too. Um, Today, we're going to be talking about the divisional round of playoffs. We have a different setup for our non football picks. We have a top 10 here that we like, basically counting down to how confident we are in this Saturday and Sunday's games for the NHL and the NBA. Jordan did five for the NBA, I did five for the NHL. We'll get into our the NFL matchups, what we like in those games, and then well, first we'll talk about our betting successes and our betting failures from this past week, the wild card weekend. But before we get started with everything, we do want to take a time to talk about a PLP. Jordan, do you know what a PLP is?
No, tell me, Jerry, what is a PLP?
A PLP is a personal league podcast. What that is our guys at Going for Two, Jeff Lambert and his team will take all the information from your league, your rosters, your draft, your league setup, the standings, and all that stuff, and basically have a personal podcast dedicated to your league and just kind of go over everything, talk about different rosters on how and who should make what trades, who they think is going to win that league, what certain teams can do. Now, this is available for any type of league. If you're in an IDP, a dynasty, a redraft, anything that you got, head on over to goingfor2.com/league pod. And for a limited time only, right now, normally the price is $100 for your podcast. It's about an hour long. You get $22 off. So that's basically $6.50 per person if you're in a 12-team league. Comes out to $78. So check it out, goingfor2.com/league pod. It's pretty cool. He just started this last year and he's got a lot of good feedback on it. But it's awesome. I mean, just to have them talk about your league, talk about the different teams in your league, and it's pretty cool. Like, get with your commissioner and see if it's something that you guys want to do. Anything you want to say about it?
I think it's pretty cool that in February it's basically National Going for Two month. It's 2/2/22, so that's why we're running the special on it. So yeah, I listened to a few of them. They're pretty cool. I like. I hope that I get to do a few of them because I can criticize teams without actually being in the league and facing the repercussions. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, pretty cool. So goingfor2.com/league pod, check it out. Like I said, Jeff and his team will break down your specific league to your settings, to your standings, and it's pretty fun. All right, getting into today's show. First, we want to talk about our successes and our failures from the wild card weekend, the first week that we've had with you guys. Had what was the percentage that we were correct if you combine them both?
So we on last week's episode combined to give, I believe it was 27 total bets it ended up being, and we were correct on 58% of them jointly, which is really good. And I mentioned it last week. If you're hitting 53% on your single bets, that's kind of the level you need to be at to be profitable. So if you bet on everything we said last week, you would have made money. I'm not saying it's going to be like that every week, but hey, that's a good start.
That's why we're here. We're off to a good start. We just have now we got a lot of pressure on us.
I mean, I feel the pressure. That's why I stayed up all night coming up with these picks this week.
And of course, I can't log into my DraftKings.
That's no fun. I'll talk about some of my successes, but I mentioned this to Jerry a few days ago. I think one of the ways that I want to try to be a little different is being a little in depth with my own betting success and failures. And I mean, that's the reality of it. It made me chuckle because I was reading a few CBS betting articles this morning. These guys are getting paid the big bucks, and one of them said, this model has been successful. It's 137 and 92 over the last 200 and so picks. And when you do the math, you're like, all right, that's only 58%. And I mean, that's kind of, if you're betting smartly and you're not doing 15 leg parlays for every bet and you're doing smaller one or two, bets, then you only have to be right 53% of the time. I like those odds a lot more. And I messaged Jerry a few days ago. I said, if you're doing a huge parlay with like 10 legs, you might as well just go buy a lottery ticket. I mean, that's kind of the equivalent. Is there's so many things that can be off by 1 yard and then the whole parlay fails. Where maybe if you had 8 legs, but you bet on all 8 of them individually, if you hit on 7 of 8, you're going to be profitable on it. So that's the strategy that I take. For me personally, I had a fantastic week in the NBA last week, actually. I was 65% for my personal picks, which I was. There was one day I was 9 for 10. They were all 2 leg parlays. Basically, I paired the over under with the spread every NBA game every single day. That's what I've been doing since betting's opened up in New York, and I had a lot of success with the NBA last week. Overall, for me, I had a 56% hit rate last week. On my 2 leg parlays, I had 39% success, which seems lower, but on the week I was up 20%. So that's what I mean when you're doing these smaller bets. You only have to be above 53% on the one single bets, and I'm still doing a little bit of the math, and I'm gonna do it's a little bit of trial and error on my own part personally, but 39% on my 2 leg parlays. I guess they're still parlays. It feels weird to say with only two
Yeah.
pieces of it, but technically they are. But I was only at 39%, but I still was up 20% on my money for the entire week. So, I'm always going to preach more of doing the smaller bets, and it's a long game. I'm not going to win until I'm hoping to build up my bankroll, and instead of doing $10 on those bets, eventually I get up to 20 and so on and so forth. But yeah, that's kind of my strategy, and I don't think it's a common strategy because I'm not going to make $2,000 overnight doing this, but I'm going to slowly build my bankroll. You build long-term success, and you can win money doing this. And the reason sports books and casinos make money, if we're being honest about it, is because people don't do this,
Mhm.
taking advantage of people who just want to throw $10 at a huge parlay and maybe not get a ton out of it. So I had a good week overall. It was the first week it was legal here in New York, and hoping to build off that success based on tonight's NBA's game. It's not a great Friday night for me, but that's all right. You can't win them all.
Yeah, we had so one of my biggest successes that I had was I don't know if you remember from last week, but we were talking about I think each game that we had I had an individual touchdown score. I hit on 3 of them, 50%. But I put money on all of them, but I did put money on the first touchdown scorer for the Rams game. Said it was going to be Odell, and he hit. So that basically paid for a lot of my bets last week just off that one bet. So I definitely see what you mean about not throwing all your money into 15, 20 leg parlays and just trying to not necessarily nickel and dime it, but just like go a little bit more money and more confident bets. Or we kind of hedged it too. I basically what I did was I split with a buddy and I threw $30 in, he threw $30 in, and we both chose 6 guys. But we kind of stayed away from the chalk. Like Cooper Cup wasn't going to make us any money, so if he hit, unfortunately, we would have been out $30 um, by not picking him. But it ended up being Odell who paid. I think it paid out $120 or something like that. So we both made our money back and made money on top of that. And that's, I mean, that's just something like end of the week. Well, technically end of the NFL week. Wanted to get some money back, so we threw a few bucks at 6 different guys, and one of them ended up hitting, and that covered all the guys that we paid for. Plus, we made money back. So that's something to think about too. Little small bets like that, but you're only putting it on one guy or one stat, one prop.
Hmm.
Jordan's putting it on 2 props, putting it on the game and on the over under. So just some things to think about. The other 2 touchdown scores that I had were Devin Singletary and Mike Evans. Um, Singletary had the 2, Mike Evans had the 1, and then Odell who had the first touchdown. But I had him for an anytime touchdown in a parlay, and then a first touchdown for Monday night. So nice successes there. And like I said, a lot of the money was made back just on the Odell touchdown. Now we got to talk about failures.
We have none. I know a big one for me last week is I was pretty confident in the Bills heading into last week, but I bet the under on the Bills Patriots game. That
But
did not work at all. Yeah, I mean, I thought the Patriots defense would play a lot better than they did. Um, that's kind of the reality. I had a rationale behind it. It wasn't like I was just closing my eyes and throwing a dart, which maybe if I did, I would have gotten it right, but I didn't. So that was a big one for me. The other one that was just frustrating is I was off on Sony Michel's rushing yards by 1 yard. So that kind of sucked. That was one of my prop lock it and drop it from last week. And then I had a three-legged parlay for player props in the Rams game, and I missed it by 1 yard. And they just kept giving Cam Akers the ball at the end of the game. And I
Oh
was at
no.
that game, and I was like, just give Sony one more carry. That's all I need from you. But I mean, I can't complain. As a Rams fan, it was a fantastic game. But it was something you mentioned, hedging bets. That's something that I'm going to play around a little bit with player props this weekend. I'm going to end up placing individual player props on each game, and then I'm going to do a parlay with three of those. And essentially, if you hit on two of those three, you're going to make your money back on all four of those bets. But if you happen to hit all three, you get all three individual bet winnings and the parlay. So I'm going to mess around with that strategy a little bit, trying to hedge my bets there. So we'll see how that goes this weekend.
Yeah, not a bad strategy at all. I mean, one of the failures that I had was I chose the over in the Dallas and San Fran game. We know that San Fran could put up points. A lot of their game is defense, though, and that's basically what took advantage. Dallas could not just get anything going at all. It was the highest over under of the week, I believe. It was at
Hmm.
51. But I just figured Dallas was going to go out there and not necessarily just like walk all over San Fran, but I figured it would be a back and forth game. Debo getting in the end zone a couple times. Dale or Dak would have to do things with his arm. He's got plethora of weapons, all healthy, and they only put up 17 points or something like that. And yeah, it's just Lamb, Zeke, and Pollard were all kept in check. Um, Cooper was all right. Schultz was all right, but I mean, those are just. I mean, they more so had like good, decent fantasy days. They really didn't do well for any
Hmm.
kind of betting, unless you had yardage props on them. But
And the under.
yeah, yeah, way under. They only 40 points, I think, was the
Yeah,
total.
40. Yeah. Yeah.
But it wasn't like you said, it wasn't a bad week overall. We had some successes, and we're always going to have failures. I mean, that's just how it's going to happen. If we didn't, then we should be getting paid for running these kind of shows. Um, so let's move into our non NFL bets. Like I said, we're going to count down from 10 to 1. What's up, Kyle? Kyle's in the chat here too.
Heyo.
We're going to count down from 10 to 1. Basically, the even numbers are going to be Jordan's. He's going to give you an NBA bet. The odd numbers are going to be mine. I'm going to give you an NHL bet. These are bets that we feel the most confident in for Saturday and Sunday slate. The good thing with my bets are, like I said last week, most NHL games, if not all of them, and I just checked for tomorrow. Um, most of the spreads are a goal and a half. So if we're going against the spread, it's going to be a goal and a half. So I don't have to worry about 4.5 points or 3 points from an NBA game. It's all just a goal and a half unless it's a straight money line bet. So I got a little bit of advantage there.
Yeah, I feel like you're cheating, but that's okay. All right, I'll start right off at number 10. We're going to alternate back and forth, so I'll be doing NBA. I have the Bucks and Kings as a bet to watch out for. The Bucks are at home, and whenever you have a team that's much, much better at home, typically that spread is going to be huge. One of the reasons that I'm keeping an eye out on that is the Bucks are only 4-6 over their last 10 games. They're coming off a back-to-back tonight. They're currently that game's still playing as we're live here, so they're going to be coming off a back-to-back on Saturday. The Kings haven't been great; they've been playing better over the last 10 games, but it's one of those games coming off a back-to-back. I wouldn't be surprised if this was a 12-13 spread, and I think that could be sneaky betting the Kings with the points on Saturday.
All right, and my number 9 bet is going to be also involving the Kings, but it's the Kings of Los Angeles.
Same
I
thing.
got the I got the New Jersey Devils beating the Kings, but I'm going money line on this one. The Kings are basically kicking off a 6-game Eastern Conference road trip. If you're any familiar with the United States, they are all the way out west, and they're coming out east for that game, and then 5 more games after that. The Devils, they're on a little bit of a small losing streak right now. They've lost the last 3 in a row. Um, but there has been another 3 games in that time frame that they haven't even played because of COVID reschedules and stuff like that. So they're a little bit more fresh too. They do seem to play a little bit better at home, and I just like I try to always go with the if there's ever a long road trip, I'm going to take the home team in that advantage for the most part in the first game. Just jet lag and all that
Mhm.
stuff, and coming over here playing. starting off a 6-game road trip. I mean, they could realistically finish the road trip 3-3, 4-2, but I'm going to go with the Eastern Conference team, the Devils in that game, just kicking it off at home and starting off the Kings road trip pretty badly for them.
And number 8, I have the Wizards over the Celtics. They play on Sunday. Both of these teams are playing Friday night, so it's not a back-to-back, but a short turnaround. The Celtics are going to be traveling, where Washington doesn't have to do any traveling. So similar rationale that you were just discussing, but um, the Wizards have been really good at home. The Celtics have really struggled on the road this year. So between the travel schedules and the home road splits, I like the Wizards over the Celtics on Sunday.
All right, and so my first game was on Sunday. The next game is also on Sunday. It's going to be the Florida Panthers covering the 1.5 point puck line over the Seattle Kraken, the newest team in the NHL this year. Um, I have a similar situation with another game. Basically, it involves one or two of the highest scoring teams versus one or two of the lowest scoring teams against, or highest scoring teams against. And this is one of them. Florida is the highest scoring team, and Seattle is giving up the second most goals in the league. They already met once this year, back in November, I believe it was. And yeah, it was November, and Florida won 4-1, so they covered that line then. It was in Florida, but Seattle, just a new expansion team, not a lot of experience. They haven't really been that great at home or on the road. They're one of the bottom teams in the NHL this year, not scoring a lot of goals, and they are allowing a lot of goals against. And Florida is one of the better teams this year, so I like Florida to cover that goal spread in Seattle on Sunday.
All right, at number 6, yeah, that's number 1. I have the Raptors over the Blazers. They are playing on Sunday. The Raptors, well, I look at home and road splits quite a bit, and then usually when I'm looking at NBA games, I tend to look at the last teams go through such up and downs through a long season. I tend to really focus on the last 5 games to see how a team is playing. And the Raptors have been playing much better as of late. Their point differentials, even in their losses, have been less. So they're playing really well. They're at home against the Trailblazers, who have actually also been playing really well. But this team is they're not a bad team, but the Trailblazers have the second worst record in the entire league on the road. So traveling to Toronto, it's tough for a lot of people, and I expect the Raptors to take care of business.
All right, number 5. Like I said, I had another similar situation. This game is on Saturday. The Colorado Avalanche covering the 1.5 point puck line versus the Montreal Canadiens. Same thing. In this case, the Colorado Avalanche are the second highest scoring team, and Montreal is giving up the most goals in the league. Um, they both and Colorado is entering the weekend. I don't believe they played today, but they are entering the weekend on a 5-game winning streak. While the Canadians are basically they're just the worst team in the league. They're not even at 10 wins yet. They're at 8 wins. Colorado is at home. They're a Stanley Cup favorite. They got 2 or 3 of the best players in the entire league on their team. They're going to be fresh. Montreal is just bad, so I like them to cover the 1.5 point puck line there.
All right, number 4, I have the Hornets and Hawks. I'm betting the over. I'm going to take a little bit of a different approach, even though I don't know what the over/under is. All I can tell you at this point is that the Hornets and the Hawks allow the most points in the Eastern Conference. The Hornets average the most points in the Eastern Conference, so a high-powered offense with a terrible defense. And the Hawks are third in the Eastern Conference in points. So this is just has all the makings of being a really high scoring affair. I think the spread's going to be really close. The Hawks just won on almost a buzzer beater here tonight, so they're on a 4-game winning streak. The Hornets are also on a 4-game winning streak heading into that game, so a lot of momentum for both teams. But I expect a lot of fireworks in this one.
All right, number 3 for me, I have on Saturday the Washington Capitals covering the 1.5 point goal spread over Ottawa. Ottawa has lost by 2 or more goals in their last 3 losses. They got a couple wins in there, but in their last 3 losses, they've lost by 2 or more goals, including a 2-game losing streak. And Washington is sixth in the league in scoring, while Ottawa is bottom 4 with 32 teams. They're 28th. And earlier in the year, Washington covered that same spread with a score of 7-5. Ovechkin's on a mission. The whole Washington Capitals team is on a mission. I just think that Washington could cover that spread against another one of those bottom teams. Just those Canadian teams just aren't that good this year.
Yeah, they can't even. That's their sport. I mean, that's all they have. They should be good at that. All right, number 2, I have the Cavs over the Thunder. There's only 3 games happening on Saturday in the NBA. This is one of them. The Cavs have been one of the hottest teams in the NBA, 7-3 over their last 10. They actually have the biggest point differential in the NBA, a positive point differential. So they've been really good. They've been really hot. The Thunder, on the other hand, are 1-9 in their last 10. I think this is going to be a fairly big spread. However, I'm still very comfortable taking the Cavs just based on, and when you look at the home road splits, the Cavs are one of the best home teams in the entire league. The Thunder, just to add on top of it, are also coming off a back-to-back. They play tonight, so the Cavs are rested. They're playing at home. This has the makings of not really being that close, if we're being honest about it. So
And at number 1, my most confident uh, prop or game this week in the NHL is going to be in the Colorado and Montreal game. Just talked about Colorado covering the spread in that one, but I'm going with Colorado center Nazem Kadri to record more than 1.5 points. So if you got that prop option, could be 2 assists, could be a goal and assist, but any way to get 2 points, I think he covers that, goes over it. He's second in the league in assists. That's why I said assists, but he also could score goals. He's fifth overall in points. He plays on all aspects of the lines of the team. He plays on the second forward unit because Nathan McKinn is the first center, so he's not bumping him, but he still gets a lot of minutes. Plays on the first power play unit, the second penalty kill unit, so shorthanded points are also an option there. Um, Empty net points are an option there. I mean, as long as he could get points any kind of way, I'm going with over 1.5 points for Kadri. And that about does the NHL and the NBA. You ready to talk some NFL football this weekend?
let's rock and roll. This is the good stuff, baby.
All right. So our first matchup is going to be the Cincinnati Bengals coming off of their home win against the Vegas Raiders up against the Tennessee Titans, who are making their postseason debut this year. They had the first seed in the AFC, so they haven't played yet. The 4 seed 10-7 Bengals up against the 1 seed 12-5 Titans. That game Eastern time is going to be 4:30 on Saturday. Tennessee currently has a 3.5 point spread with an over under 47.5. Um, it's I think I know I personally told you, probably told a couple other people that I do bets with, that I was going to go with the over in all 4 of the games this week, but I'm going to switch it up, and I think
Liar.
we're going to take the under in this game. They actually the Bengals and the Raiders went under last week, and I took the under in that game too. I mean, obviously both teams can score, but I think it's going to be a hard fought battle between both teams. It features 2 really good running backs, so a lot of clock is going to be ticked off the clock. A lot of times going to be ticked off the clock. Um, I like the Bengals to win the game. I like them to win outright. So if you want to go because they are the dogs, if you want to go money line, that pays out a little bit more than taking the points, the 3.5. I like a final score of 27-24. Wait, is that the under? That's 51. Okay, I
That's
guess I'm
the
not.
over, you liar.
Yeah, that is. All right. Well, I guess I did math wrong. I guess I'm going with the over in this one.
It's all right. It's a little switch up. Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this game. Everybody wants the Bengals to win this game because they're sexy, but I mean, I
They
like
are.
old.
Joe Burrow is
I
sexy.
I mean, I loved his sunglasses when in the post-game press conference last week. But let's rattle off some stats here that I like. I didn't get to talk about the Titans last week. They were 4-3 against playoff teams this season. The Bengals 5-2. This is a really fun one. The Bengals, in their history, have never won an away playoff game. That's crazy. I saw that pop up in an article I was reading. I was like, huh. I mean, that's a bizarre stat. They're 0-6 all time. So this would be their first ever ever in the franchise history playoff win on the road. Kind of interesting.
It is.
The Titans are 7-0 when they force 2 turnovers, so I think that's a big part of this game is if they can force Joe Burrow into making some mistakes. But the Bengals haven't turned the ball over in 5 games now, so I think that's a big battle. If the Titans front can get to Joe Burrow, I talked already last week, but I'll say it again. The Bengals offensive line really struggled in pass protection this year. The Titans have been hot in terms of their front seven recently. So I think if they get to Joe Burrow, he makes a few mistakes. This is going to be a huge advantage for the Titans. Um, Obviously, you have to mention the Titans' pass defense was terrible. They ranked 25th this year, and they allowed the second fewest rush yards. So, I mean, that just sets up for Jamar Chase to have himself a day, most likely. There's not going to be anybody that's going to be able to cover him. The Titans haven't shown any ability to be able to cover an elite receiver like that this season. To me, I think a big differentiating factor is going to be the coaching matchup. I think Zach Taylor still has a lot to prove. Mike Vrabel, this is the stat that put it over the top for me. Mike Vrabel is 8-0 with the Titans when they have more than 8 days of rest. So some teams you worry about momentum, but with the Titans when they've had bye weeks under Mike Vrabel or just longer road or a longer road trip traveling for Monday Night Football, whatever it may be, they're 8-0. So I think Mike Vrabel, who should be the coach of the year, that was where my vote went, gets his boys ready. They shut down Joe Mixon, and I'll go over a few of my props. That's actually one of them. They have the line for Joe Mixon at 60 rushing yards, and I have Joe Mixon on the under for that. So that's one of the props that I'm going to be backing. This is crazy. The Titans haven't allowed a single rusher to rush for over 60 yards in 8 straight games. I mean, that's a pretty astounding number. So I think the Bengals are going to be focused on just killing the Titans secondary. I don't expect a big game from Joe Mixon here. I do have, by the way, I have the under on this one. I do think it's going to be a little more.
Did you do
If
the
the
math right?
I always do the math right. No, but yeah, I expect the Titans to grind the clock away. I don't expect them to necessarily stop the Bengals offense, but I mean, they did hold the Chiefs offense at 3 points a few weeks back now. It was mid-season. I don't know the exact week, but they have stopped an elite offense this year. But I'm not saying they're going to stop the Bengals necessarily, but I think they rattle Joe Burrow enough. They control the clock. This is a game I wouldn't be surprised if it was around 24 to 21, somewhere in that range. And I have the Titans winning outright. I'm very back and forth on the spread. I personally have the Titans covering right now, but that line has changed a few times. So I think I'm going to wait to see where it finalizes before I make any bets. Last I checked, it was at 4.5. That's really tough for me because I want to pick the Bengals with that spread. I don't know if I'm
Yeah.
confident enough that the Titans can win by more than a field goal. So I'm going to I don't expect that line to bump off a 3.5 because I think that's the whole point is that they're making you think about it a little bit. Are you confident enough to bet the Titans on the over on that? So, or the cover the spread in that case. So, other props that I had, I mentioned Jamar Chase. They have his line at 78 yards. I have him over on that one. He's done it 10 times this season, and against a weak secondary, I personally don't think it's going to be a problem. And then I do have A.J. Brown as my touchdown prop in this one. The Bengals have allowed a receiver touchdown in 13 of their 17 regular season games, so that's my touchdown prop.
All right. I didn't mention a touchdown prop. I actually have T. Higgins as a touchdown for this one. You already, I mean, just backing up what you said about the pass defense, and I don't think they're going to be able to shut down Jamar Chase. But T. Higgins is a big red zone threat for the Bengals. I could see Joe Burrow getting at least 2 touchdowns in this game. One to Higgins, maybe one to Chase, maybe one to Uzama. But I'm more confident in Higgins than anybody. Um, but yeah, and I mean, I think this could be a game that does come down to a last second kick. Now it could be a Titans last second kick to kick the game winning field goal. It could be the Bengals to kick the game winning field goal, or it could be one of those two to miss it to lose. So definitely something that I think could come down to the wire there. And
Hmm.
Bengals got that rookie Evan McPherson who's pretty good.
Hmm.
Next game is the 49ers and Packers. This is going to be 8:15 on Saturday night. Um, Packers also making their 2020 2021 postseason debut. We got the Packers with -5.5 point spread, and the over under is 47. This was probably even harder for me than the Bills and Chiefs game. This was the hardest one to predict because I mean we don't know which San Fran team we're going to get. We've seen them play. Obviously, last week they played shutdown defense. They have been able to score some points when needed. Jimmy G, his fingers a little bit banged up, but I was talking to some people, and I'm not really too worried about his finger or anything because he's not a downfield type of thrower. He's a guy he's going to get the ball into his best playmaker's hands, and his best playmakers are guys that catch the ball close to the line of scrimmage,
Hmm.
between Kittle, Ayuk, Debo, and then just get all the yards after the catch. So
Hmm.
he doesn't. He just has to be more accurate with it. He doesn't really need to sling it down the field. So that's where I don't. I think Jimmy G he'll be fine. I think he'll be able to go into this game, hit his receivers. I know you got a little stat about Kittle in there somewhere about not going over what was it, 50 yards or something in the past couple of games, but um, I like the Packers in this one. I am going to take the over in this one. I don't have a final score prediction because I don't want to do the math wrong. But I'm taking the over. I'm taking the over because I believe Green Bay by themselves could get to 28 plus points. So just leaves San Fran getting to about 19, 20, which I think they can do with how many weapons they have on offense. Devo possibly getting to the end zone. Mitchell, they're going to use Mitchell a lot running the ball. Green Bay is one of the worst run defenses that are left in the playoffs. So they'll be able to move the ball. Even Ayuk, I know he hasn't recently, but Ayuk has been involved on some jet sweeps and stuff like that. So just running the ball with those receivers and running backs, I think he gets San Fran some points. So I'm taking the over because Green Bay is going to get at least 4 touchdowns in this one.
Yeah, this is tough. Now, I think you're going to see the 49ers team that's been good. I mean, they've been hot recently. And honestly, when you look at their defensive stats, they've been very well rounded. They've been effective in stopping the run and pass. I mean, really the key is if they can keep up with the Packers offensively. And I mean, I'm not going to lie, I'm a little worried for the Packers. I think this is a really bad matchup for them because when you look at the Packers and you're analyzing them as a team, what is their biggest weakness?
Rush
I mean, it's
defense.
their rush defense. That's not good. I mean, this is what I said exactly about the Cowboys last week. The 49ers control the clock. They don't have to shut down. I mean, they shut down the Cowboys offense, but I don't even know if they necessarily have to shut down Aaron Rodgers. But if they keep this close and they're able, this once again is probably going to come down to a last possession game. And if they're the team, I mean, they're fantastic at controlling the clock. So if they're able to control the clock and steal that last possession, I don't know. I mean, I was surprised honestly that this spread's at 5.5 right now. And as much as I think the Packers will win this game, Aaron Rodgers, it's been very well documented this week. He's 0-3 against the 49ers in the playoffs. He has a lot to prove. And when Aaron Rodgers is mad, I mean, that's when he plays his best football. So, me personally, I don't want to bet against Aaron Rodgers. I think the Packers win, but man, a 5.5 point, I can't pick them to cover the 5.5. I think the strength of the 49ers run game is just too overwhelming to make this game, to have a 7 or 10 point game. I think it's going to be a close game, and I think that's a reality. As much as in the beginning, I'm like, I'm going all in on the Packers. Aaron Rodgers is going to say, "Screw you, 49ers," but I can't. I mean, when you look at their glaring weakness being the 49ers' biggest strength, it's going to be a problem. The one thing that bodes really well for Aaron Rodgers, it looks like Nick Bosa is not going to be playing. I mean, that's a huge hit. When Nick Bosa doesn't play, this defense completely changes. So I think that's going to be something to watch.
Wait a
Um,
second. I mean, you could keep on talking, but I thought they said something good about Bosa earlier
is
today.
he playing? Either way, he's banged up, I think, at the end of the day. I've seen it's the same thing with Fournette. He's activated off the IR, but he hasn't practiced much, so
He
they don't
cleared
know how
concussion
much.
protocol and has no injury designation.
So he's good to go. All right, Nick Bosa's good to go. Has he practiced all week? Probably not. But
He doesn't need
either way,
practice. He's Nick Bosa.
he's Nick Bosa. Yeah, is Fred Warner? Have they made an official announcement on him either?
I didn't see
I
anything
don't.
on him.
Yeah. So I mean, at the end of the day, the 49ers banged up. That's the moral of the story. But a random stat I'll just throw in there. It doesn't really mean anything, but Jimmy Garoppolo has never played in temperatures below 40 degrees in his entire NFL career. So this will be his first time. It's expected to be somewhere between 0 and 10 degrees at Lambeau this
How is
weekend.
his
So
hair going to handle it? That's what I'm worried about.
that's really all that matters. I mean, he probably has product for that, or maybe he doesn't because this is his first time. I don't know.
He
That's going
doesn't
to
know
be
how
the
to
big.
handle it. Yeah.
It's going to be his first experience with this. Yeah, so I'm slightly worried for the Packers. Honestly, I don't think it's a great matchup for them. I'm still picking them to win, but I think it's going to be a really close game. So I'm taking the 49ers with the points. I'm also taking the over because I do think the Packers are going to be able to put up some points. And I think the 49ers, with their run games, are going to put up some points as well. So the few props that I have, I'm just putting everything on Debo, honestly. He's been very hot recently. The Packers have allowed the third most receiving touchdowns. Their rush defense stinks, so I think Debo could get into the end zone. They have his rushing prop, which I bet on last week, and he had 70 rushing yards last week. They have it at 38 right now. I believe that he can hit that number this week as well. And then his receiving yards are currently set at 54 and a half. So he did that in 12 games this season. I think it's a nice matchup for him overall. So
All right. Now, just to be clear, you had 49ers in the points, but do you have the 49ers winning this game, or do you have you got
I still have the Packers winning it. I
okay, so
can't
just within
completely
five and a
go
half.
against. Yeah. Yep.
All right. All right. Our Sunday games we got at 3 o'clock Eastern Sunday. We have the Rams at the Bucks. Rams coming off that dominant win over the Cardinals, and the Bucks coming off that dominant win over the Eagles in last Sunday and last Monday. The Rams played a Monday night. The Rams are my preseason NFC representative, going up against the reigning champs. This is a actually I had a fun fact in here that both the NFC matchups this weekend are both they're both rematches. Which that's not the fun fact. The fun fact is they both actually happened in the same week. Um, the Packers and 49ers played in week 3 as well as the Rams and the Bucks. So both of these games are rematches from week 3 matches. Um, the Rams in that game took care of the Bucks 34-24. Um, I mean, Stafford has been up and down this year, but I can't really back down from my prediction. I figured that, and just like in the Bills game, I'm going to talk about it too. But I figured that the Rams, if they're going to make it to the Super Bowl, they're going to have to go through teams like either Green Bay or Tampa. So I mean, that was all based into my original prediction too. So it's not like, oh no, they're playing this team, so and so, I got to back out. I mean, I figured it was going to have to happen anyway. So I'm still going with the Rams. Taking the Rams in this game. I just like them too much on offense. I think they got two of the best overall defensive players in the league, um, with Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey. I mean, with the wide receivers banged up for Tampa Bay, I mean Ramsey should be able to keep Mike Evans somewhat in check. I mean, I still think Mike Evans is going to do a little something, but that's all he really has to worry about. Taking care of Mike Evans, and then should be smooth sailing for the Rams there. I like the Rams 34-28, which obviously is the over in that one. Over under is 48.5, and the Bucks are currently favored by 2.5.
Yeah, I think overall I do like this matchup for the Rams. I talked about it last week with the Eagles, and one of the reasons I thought the Bucks were going to beat up on them. Um, Tom Brady historically struggles against teams with strong pass rushes, and the Rams' pass rush has been really good recently. If Tristan Wirfs doesn't go for the Bucks, which seems likely, he tried to push it and come back into the game last week, and he looked absolutely terrible. So, based on how he looked, I'd be surprised if he played, and if he does play, I'm questioning if he's going to be able to handle the Rams' pass rush. And it might be a situation where you got to respect them trying to play, but they might be better off just having the next guy step up. But that's a huge thing to look out for. Andrew Whitworth is out for the Rams in this game, which definitely hurts their offensive line. But I think that's going to be a huge part of this game. On the other side of the ball, I think this could be a defining moment in Matthew Stafford's career, and that might seem really dramatic, but the Bucks pass or rush defense, now that they're full strength, they're fully healthy, they're elite. I mean, they're one of the best in the league. That's why I wasn't worried about it last week. When they're at full strength, this is one of the best run defense units in the entire league. So I think they're going to shut down Sony and Cam Akers. This is going to be a game where if the Rams are putting up points, the ball is in Matthew Stafford's hands. And one of the things that really worries me is the Bucs were really good at taking the ball away. They were fourth in the NFL in takeaways this year. So if Matthew Stafford turns over the ball too much, it's going to be tough for the Rams to win this game. But if he's able to come out and play at his absolute peak, the Rams should, I don't want to say comfortably, but the Rams should be able to take advantage of the Bucs secondary. I think the Bucs offense is going to be kept in check. Fournette is probably playing this week, which helps their run game, but honestly, their run game wasn't terrible last week with Keyshawn Vaughn and Gio Bernard. So um, I think it's an interesting matchup. I think that the Rams are going to be able to shut down Tom Brady, which is why I have the under in this game. I can't see Matthew Stafford playing a completely clean game, if we're being honest about it. He led the NFL in interceptions. He's going to make some mistakes. So I think that this is a game where a lot of people, I see everybody picking the over, but I think these defenses are going to be able to hold the other offense in check based on their strengths and weaknesses. So I have the under in this game. I have the Rams winning outright as well. So if you wanted to, I still usually take the points, but I guess that I'm just more gun shy than other people. I'll take, if you're going to give me the points, sure, I'll take them, because I feel pretty dumb if it ends up being a really close game and you didn't take the points. Um, yeah, I have the Rams under taking the points. A few random props. I have Brady under 293 passing yards, which might seem crazy since he led the NFL in passing yards, but like I said, I think the Rams are going to be able to get to him. Will he still have 250, 260, 270? Yeah, probably, but I think 293 is a pretty hefty number, and that's what they have the over under at right now. I also have a Gronk touchdown. The Rams' red zone defense has been a little this season, so I think that's a nice opportunity for Gronk. And then I have Odell Beckham. They have his over under at 3.5 receptions, which just seems really, really low to me. He's hit that number in 50% of his games for the Rams, which, so I guess it's a coin flip. But like I said, I expect Matthew Stafford to have to pass the ball a lot in this one. So 4 receptions for Beckham, I don't expect to be a tall task.
Yeah, and it would be wrong of me to not pick a receiving prop for either of these teams. So I'm actually going to go with a Tyler Higbee touchdown.
Okay.
I went with Odell last week, and he paid off. Higbee, I mean Tampa's Tampa's defense versus tight ends is kind of middle of the road. They allowed 6 touchdowns throughout the year, which doesn't seem like a lot, but Higbee has been getting a little bit more involved. I think that the secondary for the Rams has been it's been or not the Rams for the Bucks has been better. At the beginning of the year, it was a team that you wanted to attack and throw all over. Plus, they had all those injuries, but they have been better as of late. Plus, their pass rush has been getting some guys back, and they've been getting better too. So, just like a quick 15-yard touchdown down the middle of the field to Tyler Higbee, I could see something like that happening. And our final game is going to be at 6:30 on Sunday. It is the Bills at the Chiefs. Another rematch game from not just this year, but this was the AFC Championship game last year. The Chiefs are favored at -2, and the over/under is the highest over/under on the week at 54.5. This line from the second that the Chiefs won Sunday night to just all week, it's just been up and down. I've seen it as low as
Yeah.
1.5. I've
hmm
seen it at 3.5. I think was Monday night or Monday midday was at 3.5, and it's just crazy. I mean, between now and Sunday, you're probably not going to get anything more than 2. If you do, it might move a half a point. So if you want the points, might as well just take them. But the Bills beat them in the regular season. The Bills have found a little bit more balance on their offense with using Singletary and the run game a little bit more. Josh Allen, he's just been coming alive. I mean, last week he was alive all game, but like there's been games where he's been coming alive and late in the game, third, fourth quarter, just kind of just flips a switch and just turns it around. It's just gonna be offense back and forth. And I don't know if you remember when we talked last week, if we asked that, or I asked you if you thought the Chiefs' offense was bored. Do you remember that?
I do remember that.
Well, I mean, it doesn't look like they were bored last week because they ripped off
It's playoff time.
five passing touchdowns by Mahomes in a span of 10 football minutes. Between the second and third quarter, they had five passing touchdowns. And if you look at the timestamps, it was within 10 minutes of football time. Just crazy.
Crazy.
Um, it's literally a clash of the Titans, and it could come down to whoever has the ball last. It's another game that we could see a game-winning field goal. We could even see a last drive interception that seals it. I mean, it could. It's going to be one of the better games of the week. Um, the Bills were my other half Super Bowl prediction. So I mean, my two teams that I had going to the Super Bowl are still alive. I'm sticking with the Bills in this one. I think that they hit the over, and I think it's going to be about 35-31. So that covers the spread too.
Yeah, I think this is interesting because these two teams are going to be two of the best in the AFC for years to come. So the reality, I feel like a little rivalry is going to start brewing here, which will be really
Mhm.
fun. It's reminiscent of Manning and Brady. That was always fun when they got together, and I think that this rivalry could start to develop into something like that. Um, I mean, what it comes down to me in picking this game is what defense do you trust more to make a play at the end of the day? The answer is not the Chiefs for me. I mean, the Bills have playmakers. They have been more I mean, they were an elite defense most of this season. So I trust are they going to stop Patrick Mahomes? Probably not, but I trust them to slow down Mahomes more than I trust the Chiefs to slow down Josh Allen. Honestly, it's as basic as that to me. I think there's going to be a lot of points in this one. Typically, when I see a high over under, I almost always take the under just because it seems like it sets an unrealistic precedent whenever it's really high. But in this case, I mean, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if the point total's in the 60s. So I have the over in this one too. I'm picking the Bills straight up. And honestly, the points, last I checked, it was 1.5 on FanDuel, which is primarily where I'm betting. If it's only 1 or 1.5 points, I'm just taking the Bills straight up. I'm not taking 1 or 1.5 points. That's not worth it to me. So, yeah, in terms of the matchup, I think Josh Allen's going to have a field day, that Chiefs secondary, especially when you attack them deep, which is kind of one of Josh Allen's strengths. The Chiefs secondary has been terrible. They've allowed the most big plays down the field in the entire league. So Josh Allen's line right now is at 280 passing yards. Honestly, I'm taking the over on it. You know, and it's probably not that crazy because he threw for what 4,800 yards, whatever it was this season. So really, 280 is just another day at the office in today's league. But so I like the Josh Allen over. I like another Dawson Knox touchdown. The Chiefs' red zone defense once again has been a little. Mm, I just think they're going to be able to attack him down the field. And then on the Chiefs side, I do have Travis Kelce going over 70 yards, which is potentially a little risky in the first matchup. He only had 56. Kelce right now is on a really hot streak in the postseason, though, 4 straight games of at least 100 yards now. So he's been very hot. And in a game that I expect to be very high scoring with a lot of passing, I think 70 yards is fairly safe for Travis Kelce.
All right, and then a prop that I had for that game was, I mean, I'm not going to shy away from it. He's done it in 5 straight games now. Devin Singletary touchdown, and it just seems
Hmm.
like as they get towards the goal line and towards the 5 yard line, it's less and less of Josh Allen taking it, and more of giving it to Singletary. And we've
Hmm.
seen last week that I don't think actually. I don't know if I messaged you or if I messaged other people, but in general, the Bills literally had 0 negative plays last week outside of any offensive penalties. Every single play that they had was it gained yards. Um, I mean, in Singletary, he just looked good last week. He was able to cut it outside, go up the middle. Just, I mean, he's definitely a different animal now. Um, so I'm taking him for another touchdown. Eventually, it's going to stop, but for until it does, I'm going to just keep on taking him because he's getting a lot of carries and he's getting that opportunity.
Yeah, I do think that's a good one too. The Chiefs' run defense is pretty poor.
All right, and now time for our favorite segment called Pop Lock and Drop It. Pop Lock and Drop It. This is a segment where we each give you a prop that we like, a over under that we like, and a spread that we like. And these are our most confident bets for the NFL of the week. Why don't you kick us off with your prop?
All right, my prop, I mentioned it earlier, but it's Odell Beckham with 4 receptions. I think it's a pretty safe one, and I like that one quite a bit.
My prop is going to be Singletary, but not the touchdown. My prop is going to be Singletary rush yards over 60 and a half. He's got 3 straight games of over 80 actually. So I mean, if you have a chance to tease it, maybe get it up to 70, 75 or something like that if you want to do that. I I'm going to do that, but DraftKings right now gives me 16 and a half and I'm taking that all day.
Yeah, no, that's a nice line. My over under. I struggled with this one because I was like, which one am I the most confident in? That was kind of a loaded question when I thought about it, but I went with the Bills and Chiefs over. I really think that both of these guys are going to want to outdo the other, and I think there's going to be a lot of fireworks in this one.
My original over under was also the same game, but I didn't want to be boring, so I went with the Rams and the Bucks. That's I mean, you got two excellent quarterbacks in that game. Stafford just kind of turned a page. I mean, in different groups too, like people are talking about how Stafford has changed and how he just looks like a better quarterback. And realistically, this is what he's been doing his whole career. This is how he's looked in Detroit. He just hasn't had a team around him in Detroit. Now he's got a team around him. Two really good quarterbacks. One's going to the Hall of Fame. The other one's Tom Brady, and I think they're going to be. I think they're going to be. It's going to be fireworks back and forth in that game. So over in the Rams and Bucks.
That's really funny because I almost picked that as my lock, but as the under. So that actually would have been slightly amusing. My spread is the Rams. Like I said, I think that they're going to win this game straight up. I do like the matchup. So why not? I'll take the points and take the Rams.
My spread is the Packers covering the 5.5. As much as I think, or not think,
Dang.
as much as I want San Fran to win. I mean, I really don't have anything against the Packers. I don't know why I'm going against them, but as much as I want San Fran to win, I think the Packers. They're just coming off the bye. Aaron Rodgers is on a mission. They got a top offense, a really good defense. They're getting some players back on defense. I think overall the Packers are going to cover that 5.5 point spread.
That's
And
brave.
yeah, I mean, it's
How
good that
confident
we're.
are you this week, Jerry? You only got 1 of 3 last week.
I almost got two.
I
Stupid,
I almost got Sony Michelle was my stupid lock prop
stupid
last
five
week.
points away from. I mean, Arizona couldn't get to 17 points or whatever.
Yeah, that was annoying.
Jesus, those stupid birds. Um, how confident am I in the Packers one?
Yeah, are you sure you want to lock that in? You have to lock that in right
I'm
now.
locking it in. I'll go bet it right now.
Okay.
Yeah, I just like I said, the Packers. They're. I mean, we've seen them now earlier in the year. If this was a spread they didn't cover, Packers actually needed a last second field goal to win. They were down 28-27 and had to drive the field in like 37 seconds to win at 30-28. But that team it's much better now. I mean, Rodgers has been using a little bit more Lazard, a little bit more MVS. AJ Dillon is getting his feet wet now. I mean, as a fantasy owner of Aaron Jones, it was kind of pissing me off because he would put together those fantasy games, but it wasn't on touches. It was more just on production. He was getting 2 touchdowns on like 10 touches. And like, yeah, you like the numbers at the end of the day, but AJ Dillon is getting in there a lot more. So they just have so much on offense that I think that as good as San Fran's defense is and has been, I just think that, like I said, I I have them down for 4 touchdowns at least, 28 points. I just think that they're going to be able to just run away with this one.
All right.
All right, so that'll do it for this week. We will be back next week for the conference championships, and then after that, we will be on an every other week schedule. So, getting into the football off season, we're going to get more into NBA and NHL. Um, I'm sure, I'm sure DraftKings and FanDuel and all that will have stuff for the Olympics, so we could get into that. What else? Baseball is going to be starting up soon if that
Maybe.
lockout ends. Yeah, they got the lockout going on. But other than that, I mean, I mean, there's sports every day. It's just we'll get more into those other sports, and as football comes to a close, for Super Bowl Sunday, we'll be back for that weekend too. We're gonna have different. different prop sheets. I'll probably print one up and kind of just sort of maybe try to mirror my screen and just go over like a generic prop sheet that you could share with your friends and family at a Super Bowl party, or see if any of these sites are offering anything like they usually do. And other than that, do you have anything else?
No, I don't think so. I think that these games are going to be really competitive. When I was going through and trying to analyze each one, for being honest about it, I think every single game could go either way. And I don't think you can often say that even in the playoffs, but I think we're in for a really exciting weekend and I'm looking forward to seeing how it shakes out.
It's going to be a great weekend of football. Got a fully loaded schedule for basketball and hockey this weekend. Golf. There was a golf tournament that started,
There is.
yeah, yesterday, Thursday. So yeah, if you guys have any questions, hit us up at goingfor2.com. Check out the website. Check out our Facebooks, and that's it. We appreciate it. Thank you.